All gifts entered into Denari are entered as a batch, so that's where we will begin. There are several different types of gift records: credit card gifts, electronic fund transfer or EFT gifts, and checks or cash. Denari has the ability to automatically create gift records for credit cards and EFTs that recur periodically, like monthly. But for now, we'll focus on those gifts that are entered manually by a staff person. Usually those gifts come in the form of checks or cash, although you do have the ability to enter a credit card gift manually, which we'll talk about later. Let's pretend that you have 10 checks that you want to enter today. First, you'll go to the Gifts tab and then click on Gift Batching. Here you see a list of the batches that have already been entered into the training company. We're going to click Add New to create a new batch or container for your gifts. Notice that Denari has filled in the gift date field for you. It offers you today's date, but you can change that if you wish. All the gifts in the batch will use that date. Denari doesn't record the check date. Later, when you run reports based on gift date, this is the field that Denari will use. The batch code could be anything you want it to be, or be left blank. Some users put the reference number from a bank deposit slip here, if there is one, to tie a deposit to the batch. Some enter the initials of the person entering the gifts. If you have multiple people who do gift entry, this is handy so that you know who is familiar with that batch in the future. The control total is required and offers a simple check to help you remember to enter all of your gifts for this batch. It's not foolproof, but just adds a small checkpoint. To use it, you first need to add up all the gift amounts you intend to add to this batch. So in our example, we'll add up the 10 checks. Let's say that each check is for $100, so the total of the 10 checks is $1,000. That's what we'll enter into the control total field. You don't need a dollar sign or 0 decimal points here. The notes field can be also left blank or used for anything you want. It can give you or someone else in the future clues about what types of gift are in the batch. The bank profile field is required. Some organizations have multiple bank accounts with different types of gifts going to various accounts. For example, they may put foundation gifts in one account with all other deposits going to a different account. You can set up the values that will appear in this drop-down by going to the Gifts tab / Bank Profiles. Create as many records as you need there. If you are only using one bank account, you can go to the Admin tab and then Company Preferences to select the default bank profile. Denari will then automatically fill in this field when you create a new batch with a default that you've selected. And for now, we'll talk about ignore warnings later. Now that you've prepared the container for your gifts, it's time to begin to enter them. Do that by clicking on the Gift Entry button. This takes us inside the batch container, and if this is the first gift in the batch, Denari will give us the first blank gift entry form. If we already have gifts in this batch, you can click the Add New button in the upper right-hand corner. The first thing we need to do is select the donor of the first gift. If we know the donor's account number, we can enter that into the field and hit Tab on our keyboard. Denari will grab the donor's name and address information and fill in below the field so that we can check to be sure we have the right person. You may be asking how you will remember all of your donors' account numbers, and of course you can't. Some of Denari's users send a return form with their thank you receipts that donors can send back with their next gift that contains the account number. If you don't know the account number, you can click the question mark to the right of the field. A search window will open where you can search for and select the correct donor. Once the donor has been selected, Denari will put pertinent information into the yellow box. It will show you things like the amount and fund they donated to last time, if this is their first gift, and some other information to help you if needed in entering this gift. If the donor is not already in your data, you can click the Add New Donor link on the right. This will give you a blank name record form which you can fill in to create the new record. Once you hit save, however, Denari does not automatically fill in the account number in the gift form. You will need to click the question mark to select the new name record here in the gift form. On the right, you'll also notice a box with some other information. One of those is the receipt number. Denari creates a unique receipt number for each gift. That number will show up in various places in Denari and is the identifier for this specific gift. Next, you can click the payment method drop down to select a payment method, and then across from that you can enter the check number when appropriate. The letter field should really be called the letter body field. The default Denari thank you receipt is an 8.5 by 11 page. The bottom 2/3 of that page shows the financial information related to the gift. The top 2/3 is a letter body that can be created by you. Denari fills in things like the date and the salutation on the receipt and will plug in whatever letter body you select here. You can create them ahead of time by going to the Gifts tab and then Letters. Again, this is just the letter body that you're selecting here, not the entire receipt format. The letter field here means that you can select a different letter for each gift if needed. For example, you might want a special letter for donations made at a recent fundraising banquet. You might have a different letter for donations made as a result of a mailing campaign, or you might want just a standard letter for those who donate to you on a regular basis regardless of the event. You can control which gift gets which letters here. Denari gives you the ability to enter a single gift that can be split between funds or pledges, or can be split between charitable and non-charitable portions, etc. For example, a donor may send a check in payment of 2 of their pledges. The check could be for $100, but 50 of that will go to one pledge and 50 to another. Or a donor may purchase a product from you with some of that covering the actual cost of the item and the rest being a donation. The cost portion can be entered as non-charitable and the donation portion as charitable. We'll look at this in more detail in a few minutes. When Denari prints the thank you receipt, it will list the splits along with the total amount of the gift. Technically, there is no limit to the number of splits that can be entered. However, there will be a limit on how many can be printed on that thank you receipt. That is not really a Denari limit, but a space issue on the page. At some point, there are just too many to fit on the page. You may be asking, what is the limit that will fit on the page? That depends on the layout of the page and the size of font used, so it's impossible to give you an exact number. However, 4 to 6 is a good round number. The first field in the split section is called split amount. Denari uses this terminology for a gift even if it has only one split. So let's pretend that a donor has given us a check for $100 and it's not split between anything. We'll enter 100 in that field. So this is a one split gift. We don't need to enter a $sign or decimals unless they are necessary. Next, we can select the fund and the appeal. The fund tells us what the money was raised for, and the appeal tells us what fundraising function generated the donation. These are required fields and are important for tracking gifts later in reports. If you haven't already watched the videos on codes, be sure to do that. The codes are foundational for the understanding and use of Denari. A side note here, these two fields will show on your page as a drop-down field if you have fewer than 100 active funds or appeals. Once you have more than that number, the field will turn into the question mark field that you see here. The assumption is that after you get 100 codes in a drop-down list, the list becomes difficult to use. The question mark then gives you a search screen that allows you to search more efficiently through the list. If you prefer the drop-down, you can control how these fields behave by closing funds or appeals that are no longer needed. The pledge field is where you link the gift to a pledge. If the donor has an active pledge, Denari will fill that field in for you automatically. If the donor has more than one active pledge, then you'll need to click the drop-down to select the correct pledge. The field gives you some information about each pledge to help you select the correct one. If the donor has an active pledge, but this gift is not intended as a payment toward that pledge, you can click the drop-down and select Not a Pledge Gift. In the type field, you'll find 4 options. Almost all of your gifts will be hard. That is, they are cash, checks, credit cards, etc. Here are the definitions for the others. Soft is really kind of a fake gift. It can get used for several things, but here are 2 examples. Someone donates a gift in kind. Let's say it's a computer. Your accountant doesn't really care about this donation unless its value is over a certain amount, but your fundraising person does. That person wants to know that this donor made a donation even if it wasn't a cash type gift. So you can estimate what the computer might be worth and enter that into the split amount field and change the type to soft. Denari will create a record that will show in the donor's gift history page with an asterisk next to it to let the fundraiser see the donation, but the gift will not show up on most of the standard reports. You can get a list of soft credits using Gift Segmenter, however, when needed. Denari will also not print a receipt for this gift because the IRS does not allow nonprofits to establish a value for tax purposes. You can send your donor a hand-typed letter on your letterhead with the date and what was donated for the IRS, or if you have a lot of gift-in-kind type gifts, Denari does have a soft credit letter that you can use. A second example is for a donor who donates to your organization through a third party, like a foundation. The donor gives them the money and they give it to you. Legally, you can't receipt the donor. That's the responsibility of the foundation. But again, the fundraiser wants to know that the donation was made, so you can enter it as a soft credit. You'll need to enter 2 gifts, one hard to the foundation and one soft to the donor. A soft credit is not included in the control total of the batch. So if we have 10 gifts that we are entering today, each for $100, but one of them is a soft credit, the control total will be $900. A soft pledge is similar to the soft in that it is a fake gift, but it gets used when the gift is being applied to the pledge. This is sometimes used with child sponsorship when a parent sends a check as payment on a pledge for someone in their family who is the real sponsor, like their son or daughter. It requires that you enter 2 gifts, one hard and one soft. The parent can get a hard credit for the donation, but the child's donation can be soft and applied to the pledge. And finally, a covered pledge relates to membership. If you're using that module, it works exactly the same as a soft pledge, but allows a donor to get membership credit for the donation. Tributes are gifts in memory of or in honor of. We won't cover the tributes feature here, but you can set up a tribute record on the Donors tab and then link the gift to that tribute here. The drop-down shows all of the open tributes. The gift code field is a free-form field and can be used for anything you would like. It can be used as a filter in Gift Segmenter to get a list of gifts with this particular code. The charitable checkbox is where you can indicate that this gift is charitable. Unchecking the box, of course, will make it non-charitable. The default thank you receipt will show charitable or non-charitable for each gift or each split. The Ignore for Stats field causes this gift to not be included when Denari calculates things like year-to-date, last gift date, first gift, largest gift, etc. for this donor. I can't really give you a realistic example of how this gets used, but occasionally it is needed by some of our clients. The anonymous checkbox only works with the missionary module. It will remove the donor's name from reports that missionaries see when they log in through their interface. If you're not using that module, this field will have no functionality. There are 3 notes fields on the page. You can put anything you want into these. The split notes field resides with the split. If you have 5 splits in a gift, each split could have its own note if needed. The gift note usually applies to the entire gift. And the PS note field here is the one that is built into the default thank you receipt template. It sits just below the letter body. Anything you enter here will appear on the receipt in that location. Let's stop there for now, and we'll pick this up with talking about splits.